Right then, it's live match time again. It's been a while since we've done one of these. I know a lot of you potentially watch the Match Masterclass, see me fish different styles, but putting it into a match situation is definitely more valuable than the information of why you change and when you change. So we are booked on the Canal Lake and it's the midweek open. So it's busy today. There's lots of people here to draw. I think the lake is actually full, which is definitely going to affect the fishing, along with the weather's a bit in and out. It's raining, then it's not. So I'm going to put a guesstimate of £80 is going to be either competitive or maybe win. So that's the benchmark target I've set. Like I said, there's lots of people turning up. So we're going to get the draw done and then we'll talk through a plan. As always with lakes like this, end pegs are so dominant. This one here behind me, peg 21, right beneath his hut, is always the dominant peg on this lake. So the closer we can get to this end, I think the better our chances are going to be. But let's go and find out exactly where we're sitting today. Oh, 22. Oh, nearly. Right then, that is the start of the match. So I'm just going to go straight into it. I've drawn peg 22, which to be honest with you, I'm fairly happy with, because obviously, like I said, the closer we can get to this peg to my right, the better it's going to be. We might have to sit and watch Gary catch them all day, but we are in a fairly decent area. Now, I've not fished a match here for a while, so I'm just going to start a little bit more positive than perhaps I think will work. So I'm just going to fish to start with 6 mils down here, rattle a few in, because actually only about 3 weeks ago I filmed the last Match Masterclass doing exactly this, and I start an awful lot of matches like I am now. I think potentially we may have to move on to micros and expanders. The match we fished here at the weekend, I was actually on the other lake, but most of the fish were caught like that. But if I can catch them like this, I think it's just a little bit cleaner, potentially targeting slightly bigger fish. There's a real mixture in this lake. We just wait for that train to go past. Yeah, there's a real mixture of sizes in here. So if you can target or catch a few bigger fish, certainly early on, it is very, very good. And all I'm going to do is, because a lot of people who are fishing today fish this regularly. I've got Gary's to my right, Chris's to my left. They both fish this a lot. So I'm going to use those a little bit of a guideline. Just have a look at what other people are doing. I can see 2 pegs to my left. Someone is fishing shallow, which is a good indication for me, because it means I don't have to do that. Now, you might be noticing I'm not feeding any other lines at the moment. I've literally just fed my 5 or 6 pellets on this line, and we're just going to try and catch an early fish and see if we can feel our way into it. To be honest with you, I would have half expected a bite by now, but it might be one of those ones, like I said, where we're not quite as many fish. Oh, there was a little indication. Not quite as many fish as expected. If there was a few less people on the lake, it would definitely fish better. So we're not going to panic and try and catch too early. I've set plenty of other kits up. I've obviously set down the edge just in case. I've got a rig at 16 meters right over the far side. I don't really want to do that, but if we have to do that, then I will do that. I've got my shallow kits down the middle. Like I said, there's plenty of Iden F1s, so that's always an option. And I've got this line here on 6 mil pellet, and then to my right I'm going to fish the micros and expand line. So I've actually got quite a bit set up, but it's the first thing is to find out what you're going to catch on first. So this is the plan. I'm going to fish this for at least, oh, another indication, there's fish there for sure. What I might do, I normally don't do this. If you watched the Match Masterclass that went live last week, I don't really feed over top of my rig, but just because I've had a couple of indications and missed a bite, I'm going to do that. What I don't want to do is feed too aggressively to bring those fish up in the water. I don't want to do that here. That is probably going to be later on feeding maggots, but here I want to get them down to the bottom. I want to keep them there, so I won't be feeding too much by hand, but if we can just make a little bit of noise to let them know that they're there, it's really good. Basically those 6 mils, I've soaked it heavily in the tiger nut oil. I've been really liking that at the moment. and every now and again you can just see a little slick of oil come up, which is definitely where the fish is feeding on it and just moving those pellets around slightly. So it's always a good indication that there's a few fish there. But a couple of, I wouldn't say I've had a bite yet, I'd say I've had a couple of smaller indications. So let's give this, well, saying that, I've probably been talking to you for 5 minutes, let's give this another 5 minutes. That doesn't work, we're gonna have to move on. As expected, Gary's already playing the fish. They absolutely love that peg. We actually filmed the underwater there. I'll put some clips up overlaying now, and even like in the depth of winter, there's just fish after fish after, it's like a fish highway all around that staging. So, you know, that, I said at the start, you really are struggling to compete with that end peg, but you still got to catch them, and we are quite near it, so at least we can see what Gary's up to. I'm pretty sure he's caught that on expanders and micros. It might be, like I said, this little 6mm line might be a little bit too aggressive, a tiny bit too positive, but we'll see. Let's give it another 5 minutes and see what happens. There we go. Our first bite. What are we, 7 minutes in? So literally only a minute or so after I stopped talking to you then, we've got our first bite on that pellet line. So hopefully it's the sort of thing where they, you know, there's potential to get better and better. Like those, first of all, they need to find out that the bait's there. So we're making a little bit of noise. I threw a few pellets, as you saw. Wow, this one's really pulling. Maybe I've foul hooked it. That wouldn't be good. Nice if you get the first one in the mouth at least, so you know that everything's right, but I don't know, it might just be a bigger fish. I did say that we are fishing slightly more positive than we were expecting to. So far, I've only seen Gary catch a fish. I've not seen anyone else catch it. I might be wrong, it's quite hard to see because you're all in a line here on a canal. It's quite hard to see, but we need to keep track as well of nets today. There's a strict £40 net limit. We do get a tolerance, you can go to 44, but I need to make sure that if I'm talking to you on camera, then I don't get distracted and forget to click the net. So got my clicker sitting here on the leg, couldn't live without that. It's got the time on it, it's got a stopwatch, and it's got my clicker, so shows me how quick I'm catching. If I feel I need to catch any quicker, then that's there as well. What I am going to do is I'm just going to throw a couple of pellets, because it's taken me a while to get this fish in, so I'm just going to, there we go, that's a nice hit. It's not foul hooked, and that's good. Come on. There we go, straight away. That will do. That's under 10 minutes. And what we've given ourselves for that, I would say nearly £4. We'll give ourselves 3. So that's going to go in that net. Remember what net. So my left-hand net's going to be my silverfish. 1, 2, 3. 3 will be fine. And we're just going to repeat the process basically. So 6mm pellet on the band. I said if we filmed this match about a month ago, the weather was mega, it was really warm, and this method was electric. It was winning, you know, pretty much all the time, but it is pretty consistent. Come on, what have I done here? Hooked my side tray, foot plate, sorry. Right, and again, I'm just going to go back out to mark, and I am going to make a bit of noise. I'm going to tap them in from a height, and that will probably be the last time I do that, because hopefully they now know that there's a bit of bait there. So it's really deep here as well. I've got shot and pattern wise, I've got a spread out bulk tapered towards the bottom 2 foot of the rig, 014 main line, 0.4 gram matrix float, so fairly heavy to get it down there, but it's nice and light and sensitive. And I'm not going to go too much detail into rigs today, because pretty much everything I'm going to fish I would have done a Match Masterclass on. Like I said, this what I'm doing now, hard pellet fishing, I filmed that literally about a month ago, so we'll put links in the description to the different styles of fishing that I'm doing. So if you want to know about feeding, baits, rigs and stuff like that, then that's probably better to watch a full descriptive video of it than it is me quickly try and touch over it in a match. This is more about why you make decisions, how quick you change and stuff like that. So I'm not actually going to change at the moment. I'm happy with that. I've had a fish in the first 10 minutes. I haven't fed any other lines like I said, so I'm going to give this definitely another 5, see if we can catch another one. If not, you know, we'll start to think about priming your other lines, because it's important to start thinking about what you're doing next. You know, you need your next plan every time. I think my next plan is going to be fishing micros and expanders, but we just got another bite. There we go. So at the moment we don't need another plan, but the next plan is definitely that. But there's so many fish in this lake that personally I don't think you need to prime things for too long. I think you can probably cause yourself more damage sometimes by priming swims rather than just doing it 5 minutes before you're going to go on it. So I haven't fed anything else apart from where I'm fishing. There we go. That's going to be, it's not quite a pound, but adding on to that other carp, that's now going to put us on to the 4 pound mark. Quick look around, try and keep visual. A couple of people playing fish down the canal. I think by the looks of it, they've probably caught those fishing across. So I think that's going to come into play later for me. I want to try and keep them here, nice and close. You can fish it nice and neat, and then it gives you somewhere to go. I think naturally throughout the day, as these fish start getting caught, you know, they're going to migrate over to that far side. And it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of us end up fishing over there as the match goes on. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it's going. Like I said, just put those pellets in, made a bit of noise again because I'm not missing bites. If I was missing bites or foul hooking them, I'd stop making that noise and I'd sneak those pellets in. But because that's not happening, I'm just going to keep pressing that repeat button until I need to change something, and just keep my eyes on everyone else. You can see just to my right of my shoulder, Gary's now gone to under the chain and the staging, which is where loads of fish live. So expect him to catch fairly soon. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that at the moment. Let's see what the next few minutes bring. Right, that has been 8 to 10 minutes without a bite now. So these are the things that you have to react quickly on, because Chris has started to feed some maggots over the far side. He's had 2 or 3 eyed in a couple of chucks. Same to his left as well. There's only a limited amount of eyed in here, so you don't want to miss that sort of chance to catch 10, 15, 20 eyed maybe. You know, sometimes you can catch more, but I don't think there'll be loads today. You definitely don't want to miss that opportunity. So already we're thinking about changing. Like I said, actually probably weight wise we're doing all right, and it seems strange to change so quickly, but I'm not going to give up on that. I can just every now and again feed a few pellets over to keep it going. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just feed a hard pellet line. What rig do I need? Sorry, a soft pellet line. I need that one there. So I'm going to put in some micros. With these micros, what I've done is just really over wetted them. So I filled the whole box up with water. So they're really heavy and they're wet. And when I say micros, there's some 3 mils in there as well. Like I said, it's really deep in here. So I'm just going to go to here with that. I'm going to put that in there in a little ball. Like I said, because it's really deep, hopefully that's now going to get to the bottom. I'm going to pick that rig up in a minute, but because they're catching shallow, I'm just going to put one of my kits on, and I'm not actually going to fish it, but what I want to do is I just want to get my eye into how far I'm going to be fishing it when I go on it. So I am fishing where I've plumbed up. So we are fishing here, and all I want to do is just get a little bit of use to how far these maggots, just so I can keep my eye on, so I can keep a few maggots trickling in while I'm going to come back on that soft pellet line. So right, okay, now I know where we are. Perfect, so we can carry on feeding that. while we're fishing, but you never know, there could be a fish or two sitting on those micros that we just put in. It's always worth trying it. You know, they're not absolutely smashing the hide, but it just gives me that option if I need to. So I'm not going to feed too much there, but I'm just to have something there if this doesn't go within the next 5 minutes fishing this pellet line. Then I've got my next plan. Like I said already, we're thinking about our third plan, and we're not even 20 minutes, well, we're just 20 minutes into the match. So let's go out there. I'm not going to feed actually, because I just fed, didn't I? So let's have a look. But yeah, match fishing is purely about thinking about what's next. You know, I said at the start, you can't be too slow to react, and use everyone else to your advantage. Like, I wouldn't have fed any maggots there at the moment had I not seen them catch a few fish. So even if I'm not fishing it, I'm keeping a few fish in the area. And I said, you don't really need to prime swims here because it's so good. But, oh, I just missed a bite. With that, I'm not really going to prime it for long. You know, if this has, if I haven't had a bite in this within 10 minutes max, I'm going to be going over there. So normally with a shallow line, you'd expect to be priming it for, you know, half an hour. I quite like to do it sometimes because you get the competition there, but I don't particularly think that's the way to go here. And it is, as I expected, from what I can see, fishing reasonably hard. You know, nobody's catching a load of fish. There's another bite. Everyone's doing the same as me though, I'd imagine. They're just trying to feel their way in. You don't want to commit too early into a match, and like this gets even more apparent the colder and colder it gets. You know, in the summer you can just straight from the start be really aggressive, catch a load of fish, but as you get colder and colder, you need to think about it and just be a little bit patient. You can always add, but you can't take away. I'm sure you've heard people say that before. You know, the bait that you've put in is in there now. You can't do anything about it if you've overfed it, but you can always change your line or doing something like that. So I've had a couple of bites on this, to be honest with you, and I haven't seen them catch many more fish shallow. So let's give this 5 minutes, maybe 10. Keep putting a few maggots over there because, like I said, you've always got to have where you're going next. And we know where we're going next if this doesn't work, but we need to give this a fair chance. He's just hooked another one as well to my left shallow. So that's like four-eyed, I think, and they're pretty decent. They average nearly a pound, so they're well worth catching. Train goes past again. Keep that hard pellet line topped up. But yeah, the hide are definitely well worth catching. So let's see what we're on. 26. I'm going to give this till 30 minutes. So that'll be half an hour's worth of fishing in total, and we'll see what happens from there. I was just about to give up because it's ticked over to 31 minutes past, and I said I was going to give it till half past, didn't I? But it's just dipped under. I'm really torn with what to do, if I'm honest. It's like I keep saying, but it's the decisions you make that make a big difference. Because if I don't go, there's another little carp, if I don't go for any hide now, then I might miss that little fluctuation, and I guarantee when you come to the weigh-in, that sort of £20, £15 of hide can make a big difference. But at the same time, you know, it's always a good time at the start of a match to catch some bonus fish as well. So I feel like, I don't know, I'm really torn at the moment. I'm going to have another go on the pellets at least. So I'm just putting these into a ball. Like I said, the time that gets to the bottom, it's pretty much a whole top kit deep. So the time it gets to the bottom, they're going to be spread out-ish, and we're going to keep another eye on it. So I'm fishing, I've got the far bank marker, there's a little sign on there. I'm just going to cup that in there, swing my rig past. We're fishing on a slope, and again, plenty of the videos we've done on this lake show that. So you want to know fishing on a slope, again, look at the Match Masterclass series and it shows you exactly how I do that. I've tried to keep an eye on what people are doing. They're catching a few odd, not enough to really worry me. And about 3 to my left, which I think is Jim Barham, and it's nice that you know everyone here because you can say who's doing what. He's fishing right over to the far side, and I've just seen him have 3 or 4, but again, that's not something I want to do so early on. I think I need somewhere to go later. Like if you start clattering them over there, all they're going to do is go left and right, in my opinion. I definitely don't want them to go right because that's probably where they're going to go anyway. But in saying that, you know, in the first half an hour, it's been slow this end. Even for peg 21, it's been slow. So you never know. They're not all, well, they normally are there. They normally end up there. But oh, another little bite. You still have to catch them. You know, it's not a given that it's a win during that peg. I'm gonna keep that hard pellet line going as well because I'm convinced that we can still catch a few more fish there. Later on, I'm gonna try and fish down the edges. I think we might be getting a slightly too cold for that now, but you never know. But again, I'm not gonna feed those. Just before I go on it, like 5 minutes before, I'll put some bait in there. But I feel like at the moment I'm spending more time watching everyone else than I am the float. Keep a few of those maggots trickling in. Oh, there's another little indication. Maybe there's a couple of fish there, but certainly not hectic. We've got 5 pounds on the clicker in the first just over half an hour, so it's not horrendous. I said I think £80 will be mega competitive today. So, you know, you're only talking like £15 an hour would probably be all right, you know. So it only takes one of those 2 more bigger fish, and I'm sure that obviously as we go on, people are going to start to find out what's working, particularly on the day. I don't fish this enough to get straight on the working method, so we're already on option 2. That's a proper bite, that one. That's better. That was the most positive bite we've had already. What have we got? Oh, it's so good when the float goes under here because you just have no idea what it's going to be. Like there's carp for sort of £5. There's eyed roach, but like there's literally everything. Skimmers. Calm down. That came in quite easy actually. Like bearing in mind how much grief the first one gave me. Hooks come out in the net. What are we saying? I'm going to give myself £3. £3. Not going to go 1, 2, 3 on the clicker. Let's do that again. Little expanders. I've just got some formal expanders. I've got those. They are the Dynamite F1 Sweet. As the temperatures start to plummet, that's what I switch over to massively. And I've already said the micros, I've got a mixture of 2mm F1 Sweet and just 3mm normal. The 3mm are literally just to add a tiny little bit more weight into the bait. So let's do that again. I was a little bit worried at the start that I fished slightly too close to myself. You obviously are creating more noise when you're filming. I've got Amanda walking around with the camera, although she is pretty good. She does stay nice and quiet, but it all makes a difference. Me sitting here talking as well, you know, it makes a difference to my peg. Probably the people either side of me as well, so I've already apologised for making a little bit of noise, but it's going all right. It's going all right. We've had a couple of bites on this. We're thinking about just ticking that line over. I'm certainly not blasting bait at it because I don't want to feed too much there, but just to have my next option ready would be nice. Every now and again I'm getting a little indication on this. I've really dotted my float down small, so I hope you can see it on camera, but that's so important the colder it gets, because some of these bites are absolutely tiny, and if you've got loads of bristles you just won't see them and you're missing a lot, especially tiny little yeah, let's take my pellet. Certainly with the F1s, sometimes you can get a little pocket of F1s in here, and they're really, really hard to see. Jim's just had another one over that far side, so we'll keep an eye on that, but I've already explained why I don't want to go over there too early. So let's carry on what we're doing. There's no need to panic, certainly at the moment. Pretty happy with how things are going. Right, I think I'm going to change, because I've been my own worst enemy there a little bit. I've just had a few little carp on that short line, and there was enough to keep me interested, like the odd bite and stuff like that. But all I can keep thinking about is there anything shallow? So I need to scratch that itch. We're sort of just over an hour in, and everyone's catching the odd-eyed, and I've just been keeping a few maggots going in, nothing loads, but yeah, I don't know, perhaps I stayed on there too long. It's hard to know, because like I said, I was getting indications, and it's just hard to come off feeding fish. But I'm definitely going to give this a go just to see what's out there, because I've been feeding away, and even if there's not fish shallow, I've chosen exactly where I'm fishing here, which is just holding my 13 metre section, because it's exactly the same depth as my pellet rig, so I can just literally whip in, and there could be a few maggots got to the bottom. So there's potential to catch on the bottom as well. That was a terrible catapult, but I'd expect to catch reasonably quick. And there's a few silvers and that as well, which could cause a few issues. I mean, we don't want to fish for roach, they're just not big enough, but the eye definitely are. So I'm just fishing a nice strung out shot about 2 foot deep. That might have to fluctuate throughout the match, but there's another missed bite. I think they could be the little roach. There's a few other people that are catching right over to the far side, but I don't want to do that too early, because I've got a little bit of a game plan with that one. When I go over there, I want to fish for carp to start with on expanders and pellets, like I have been close in here. So that whole far side gets left quiet, and you can see this is why peg 21's so good. There's an area over chain you can't get behind, and I think if I can leave them over there, not making too much disturbance, I can definitely go back over there later and see if we can catch a few fish. But there's a lot of people who've committed to it already. A lot of people are fishing over, and just as I'm talking to you there, just out of my right eye, there's been movement in this reed bed and this reed bed to my left. I think it might be too early to go down there, but it's an indication that potentially we could fish down the edge. It's starting to rain a little bit again. Getting the odd bite, but this isn't really, I think these are small fish. It's not really good enough to catch them. You know, if you're going to fish for the smaller fish in the eye, you need to be catching them pretty, yeah, look at this is what's causing those bites, pretty continuously. There's another bigger fish just top the other side. I think there's a few fish over that far side now, but I'm going to refuse and restrain myself from going over there yet. I've got a few more things to try before we go over there. Like I said, we're sort of an hour and 20 in now, I think. Let's just go a few more pellets. We haven't actually tried back on this hard pellet line. I've kept that feeding. I think the micros line we can just pick up at any time. You know, I could just pick that up, and I'm pretty sure that we could catch the odd fish on there, enough to tick over anyway. But I just want to be a little bit further down and ticking over. Got a helicopter coming over. Might have to play about the depth because we're getting a few bites, but yeah, I mean, ticking over probably is all right at the moment, because I don't think anyone's really running away with it. And I think I said earlier that I much prefer these matches that you're sort of thinking about what you're doing, trying different things, catching on multiple methods. It's great to go somewhere and catch 200 pounds every time, don't get me wrong, but you don't learn a lot by that. And I just like these thinking matches. I'd rather have a match you have to try a few different things. Another one to my left over the far side. I hope my stubbornness not to go over there too early is not going to cost me. Maybe they could push over there and have a run later on, but I'm going to give this a couple of minutes. If not, I'm going to drop down on the deck over it, see if there's anything there, because at the moment I think all the bites I'm just having are those smaller roach, which are, you know, they're going to put us nowhere. That's better though, that's an hide. On the drop as well, I don't know if you managed to see that, it was literally just as I lowered the rig in, so I'm gonna get this in, potentially just drop the rig a bit more and see if they want a bit of movement. It might have been because they are though, they're cool fish, well worth fishing for. Like I said, the roach are not going to they're not going to be any good for you today, but I definitely can make a difference because the weights aren't going to be big enough that, you know, if you needed 150 pounds today to win, then you wouldn't be fishing for eye because you're not going to do it. But we don't need that weight today. So let's feed that line again. We can drop back on there. If I keep seeing indication these close reeds, I might even start feeding that in a moment. Again, always thinking about your next plan. Back out. Let's just, for this cast, it's going to lift and drop a lot more because, like I said, that one literally came. There we go. That came on the lower end. That was better. If we can put a run of those together, that'll be well worth it. Not quite a pound. They're probably, what are they averaging here? I'm going to say 10 ounces maybe. Maybe I should have clicked that net as well, because I don't want to go over my silvers net, but I don't think I'm going to have 40 pound of these. So how many is that? 2. Right, okay, I'm just going to keep track in my head of how many eyed are in there. I think you could probably have 45 eyed comfortably and you wouldn't go over your net limit. Single maggot, nice strung out rig. What you often find as well is you catch them in spells, so I could perhaps catch 3 or 4 and then you're waiting, but they are just good top-ups for every now and again. Get that bait going in. Right, let's lower it in. Indication straight away. As soon as it gets to the end of its fall, we're going to lift, lower again. I've got a carbon stem float, so important when you're fishing like this because you can see bites all the way down. Again, I have done Match Masterclass videos on fishing like this, so check out the playlist if you want a more detailed view in it. But yeah, a wire stem float would be no good here because your float would cock straight away. There's another one, and you wouldn't see any of those bites that come on the way down. Right, is this quick enough? I think it is if it carries on like this. Anyway, I think certainly carp, peg 21 to my right, is going to be the best indication of how well they're feeding, because if you're not catching them there, you're probably not going to catch them too many other places. Such cool fish, aren't they? Look at them, wicked. Like, tension eyed, always say it, they're my favourites. Make sure I put it in the right net. No need to change much at the moment. It's just working out, was I doing more weight of carp, just getting the odd bite with a chance of like 3 or 4 pound there, or am I doing more weight by ticking over sort of 10, 12 ounce eyed? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And at the moment, I don't really know the answer. It's a real thinking one today. Let's try it again. Lovely. Right. I'm going to carry on doing this until anything changes. So let's see how long these eyes stay here, and then when we change we'll come back to you and tell you why and what we're going to do next. Right, so we are about halfway now, 2.5 hours in. The eyed, I had 5 or 6, and then they went really quiet. And I flogged that away for sort of 15-20 minutes, probably a little bit too long. And what I just done is I just dropped back in on my pellet lines, both my soft pellet and my hard pellet. And I've just had 2 carp fairly quickly, and then this one, but this one I definitely had to wait a lot longer for a bite. So it's amazing what resting a swim can do. Just giving it a tiny little break, and you can find that the fish pick back up and they will go there. But I must admit, I'm getting slightly itchy feet now. I think that I can start to put a bit of pressure on and push my peg a little bit. So I've seen a lot happen down the edge. I've got a funny feeling we might be able to catch down here, so I'm just going to start feeding some maggots down here. Not a lot, but there's definitely a bit of movement down there. And then just to my right, I'm going to have a pellet line next to the other reed bed. There's just, I don't know, you know, sometimes you get that feeling, I just think we can catch it. Although I didn't expect to at the start of the match, for some reason now I think that I can. So I'm just going to line it up with something. We're about there, and there's a couple of people now catching some carp over the far side, so I think I've left it long enough that there really could be a couple of carp to catch over there now. There's been nice and quiet. The rain's started now as well, which is not good. I think it's just meant to be, it's like I said, it showers all day. So that fish I just had was on my hard pellet line. This one, I'm just going to have another quick drop in over the soft pellet line to the right. So we're lining up with that. Just as both people either side of me are playing fish as well, which is a sign that perhaps, yeah, need to get a little bit more positive with it. So a few maggots down there. I'm going to, with maggots one side, pellets the other side, I think it gives us the option of catching both. Lovely rain, perfect for this. But so plan is going to be, I'm going to give this literally 2 minutes now, because I feel like you got the quick bites, and if you don't get the bites really quickly, you are better resting it for 15-20 minutes and trying something else. Oh, Gary's actually had that one down the edge as well, so maybe I am right in the fact that a few fish will come down the edges. So we'll give this another minute. If not, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the far side and see what it's like over there. But this is a rather dark cloud. For the sake of the cameras, probably what I'm best to do is fish away for 10 or 15 minutes while this passes over, and then we'll catch back up with you where I think we'd probably be fishing over the far side, unless one of these edges goes or something like that. Right, the rain has passed. That lasted about 15 minutes. He didn't miss too much. Well, I say he didn't miss too much. What I thought I'd do is, while we were just tucking the cameras out of the dry, I thought what I'd do is have a quick go down the edge. And to my right on a top kit, on some maggots, I had 2 literally instantly. And I thought, we've cracked it. And then they went. So I literally just had my first cast down here to my left, I just, like I said, I had just had a hunch that there was a couple of carp to be caught, and I'd literally just had that F1. So I've got pellets down here to my left, maggots to my right, but quite quickly, what I'm sort of thinking now is I can only really catch 1 or 2 fish on a line before I have to move. I just can't commit any fish to anything like that. They're so sort of wary, probably because, like I said, there is a few of us fishing today, and there is definitely a lot more movement and people catching over that far side. I think my temptation to go over there is going to get the better of me after 2 more minutes down this edge. Oh, I missed a bite straight away though. But yeah, it seems to be that I can get a couple of fish quickly somewhere, and then that's it, I have to move on. So it might be that I have to fish the match like that, and it, you know, it's learning those patterns really quickly. The quicker you can find that out, the more chance obviously you've got, because there's no point waiting sort of 10 or 15 minutes for a bite if you could just switch to another peg that you've got going and get a bite quite quickly. So I've kept every swim sort of going. The micro pellet line I'm happy just to fish and feed as I go on it. The hard pellet line I'm just throwing. I've stopped actually feeding the maggot line because that just wasn't worth it. So I didn't want to confuse myself and give myself another line to fish. I'm going to have another little look down here, and like I said, if not, we're going to start going over, and I think it'll be the same over there. I think I could go over there, although I've not fed a single bit of bait. I think I could go over there quite quickly and get a bite. I might be wrong, but normally, like little safe areas, they sit and they'll quite happily pick up a bait as soon as you put it in there. They're just sitting out of the way of everyone. But yeah, there's definitely a few more fish feeding all around. The odd ones come out. Oh, just another bite. Do I go back down there, or do I go over? Let's have a little look. Bait down there, keep that going. Again, I feel like I could just sort of drop straight down in that other line and catch one as well. It's one of those ones, you think you can get a bite most places, but it's where can you get the quickest bite? Can I rotate now? Oh, brilliant, chop the bait out. Maybe that was a sign that I didn't need to feed. Sometimes I believe in that. Let's go back over there. Just pushing these reeds out of the way. It's still really deep, this edge. And I wonder if it's a little bit too deep, because if there are a few fish getting caught over the far side now, maybe the shallower water is where I should be targeting. There's definitely fish in it though, you can see him knocking. Again, another fish to my left, and they're definitely bigger fish, so if I don't go over there soon, I'm going to get left behind. Just everywhere I feel like I'm going to get a bite. Oh, that's a good bite. There you go, maybe that was worth it, just to see if there's a fish there. Like I said, I dropped my bait out of my pot that time, and sometimes I believe in that, like you weren't meant to feed, and I got a bite really quickly then. Feed some more pellets. I am feeding a bit more everywhere now, just because 2 hours to go. You've got to be more positive with people catching fish around you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get this one in. I'm not even going to go back down there, because I think I've had my 3 bites, my 2 fish. What's that? Let's give ourselves £2 for that one. Right, let's quickly do that. Right, £2 on the clicker. I'm just going to really quickly just switch back to the other side. I'm going to have my back to you slightly, just because we can, like I said, we're really tight in this swim. We can't get the cameras in where we want to go, but I just wonder if I've now had 2 out of there, and literally only a top kit, so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just lowering it off the side, and I'm literally going to give this a minute. Yeah, literally 1 minute, see if I can get a bite, because when I went in there first time, it was absolutely instant, and I don't think you need to be waiting for a fish. Let's see if there's any indications at all. If not, I'll keep trickling the odd maggot in there. That one I'm going to give a slight rest for a minute while I'm fishing this. See, already last time while it was raining, unfortunately couldn't show you, I literally went in there and it was like I had a plummet on and just went under straight away. No indications, just straight in. And I think that's how I need to fish this line. I think I need to keep dropping on it, seeing if there's anything there. I'm not even getting anything at all. Right, that's long enough for me on that line. Sometimes it does take just that little look down there every now and again, so I won't be surprised if I'm back down there shortly. But one more go down the edge, and then if not, I can't remember which kick's what. If not, I'm going over that far side. Again, I'm only going to give this perhaps 2 minutes this time, just to see if we get any sort of indication. A few of those damp micros. I did say at the start, I think 80-ish pounds would be a good weight. I think that it might be less than that, you know. I expected it to fish a bit better than this. And certainly even the good pegs, people aren't really emptying it. Still fish knocking those reeds. We've got a plane going over, we've got a train going past, so apologies if the audio is not great. The rain started up again, we've got everything going on. But let's give this 2 minutes. What's the time? 3 minutes past 1. So I'm literally going to give this till 5 minutes past. 2 minutes to get a bite. If not, I'm going to go and explore over that far side. Go away, plane. May drown out me talking and scaring the fish though. That might be a good thing about it. Are you going to go under? Thing is, both of the edges, I've had the 2 fish in the rain, I've had 2 bites there. Not getting any indication there's fish there. It's just sitting there and then it's gone. So it's not like I'm still them reeds knocking. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I'm fishing slightly away from the reeds because I do want to be able to get the fish out if we manage to hook one. There's no point me going like right deep in there, because I'm sure we've all been there and you can hook them but you can't get them out. I just want to fish about a foot off them, just see if I can encourage those fish that are in there to slightly pop out. What's it saying? It's still 4 minutes past. I reckon you got another 30 seconds to go under. If not, I'm moving on to the next venture. Oh, I actually had an indication. I said I hadn't had any indications. Go on. I feel like there's a fish there. Don't feel it would be the worst if it didn't go under, because I've fed them bait. So if I now go and try something else, let's put some maggots down there. If I now go and try over the far side, at least there's encouraging fish to feed here confidently. It's the same as what happened when I dropped on my pellet line. Like I said, I had 3 really quick, and then your bites just get slower and slower. So you get one almost instantly, then you wait 3 or 4 minutes, then you wait in 10 minutes. Like, you don't want to be doing that. If I can keep moving around, missed a bite. But I feel like I've waited too long there, so I'm going to go over the far side and see what that's all about. Am I going to catch over there? I don't know. Have I left it? Well, I think I've definitely left it long enough. Have I left it too late? Potentially, I'm not sure. Right, it's this rig. I'm going to go maggot on the hook, and I'm going to feed micros. And I said earlier, what I think I'm going to do is try and catch one on the bottom first, see how that gets on. I'm not going to put it in a ball actually, because we're fishing on a slope, so I'm just going to tap it in there. If we catch a couple there, brilliant. If we don't, I'm going to start feeding some bait properly over there. Right, let's get all these sections back on. I don't like fishing 60 metres. I don't know anyone who likes fishing 60 metres really, but sometimes you have to do it. Right, so I need that, and I need another section behind me. Pole's all a bit wet, so I'm just taking my time, and we're going just to the right of that grass there. I've got some tape on pole here in my knee, just so I know that I'm in the right spot, and we're going to turn that over and tap the pellets out. Right, like I said, now I've not fed anything over there at all, or match, so let's see how long it takes to get reaction. I would normally expect to see indications relatively soon, just because, like I said, it's definitely a safe area for them to sit. I know, oh, I had a bite straight away. Look, how quick was that for a bite? Didn't hook anything, and fishing maggot, it could have been a little roach, but I think I could potentially put a run of 2 or 3 fish together over here, and I would want to do it, another bite, I'd want to do it quite quickly. This is not the place to sit and wait for a bite really. Rain's coming back, lovely. 2 bites already. What I don't want to do at the moment is start spraying bait and encourage them to come up in the water, because gets a bit messy. And you see that, I don't know if you can see over there, but there's just a ripple come off as well, so there's definitely a fish over there. Still actually fairly deep. Oh, another missed bite. Just going to reset that rig because I'm fishing on a slope, bring it towards me, lift it up, and then slowly lower it back down. There we go. Took a little bit longer than I wanted and a couple of missed bites, but it was first cast over there. Double shipping with the pole, never nice, is it? And what have we got? Let's have a look. I don't know how long that took. Sometimes it feels longer than it actually is to get a bite, and that one was so delicate. I was just lifting it and it grabbed it just. There we go. That's a nicer fish though. Like, happily catch those. Talking £3 for sure. You want to have a little look at him? Let's have a little. We're not too worried about winning, are we? Just sort of talking through, but there we go. That's a. Nearly dropped it. Let's put that back in. Right, so I'm going to give myself £3. So we're sort of getting towards £28-ish, I think. I'm going to go back over there. The rain is really frustrating because it's in and out and it's hard to film in, but we're doing the best we can. It's a bit of actual blue sky over there. It'd be nice if that came out. Right, so I'm just going to press the repeat button on that, but before I go out over there, I'm going to feed a little bit down there, maggots down there. I'm not going to feed my soft pellet line because I think they're pretty instant. They just come and look after themselves. So, let's go over there, see if we can get another one. I definitely expect to catch 2 or 3 pretty quick, like I said, and then it may be the fact that it goes quiet just like the other areas have been. So, but there's now another line that I've got to rotate. So all in all, if I'm rotating like 3 or 4 lines, then I feel like it's more chance of catching. So let's just set that over there, knock those pellets out, make sure I've got the tape on my knee in the right place. It's so accurate because when you're fishing on a slope, you need to make sure everything is perfect. Right, what's going to happen this time? Sort of everyone's like ticking over here. I don't know if anyone can find out a real way of pinning them down, and perhaps you cut some of the days you don't get that. You just Oh, there's a missed bite. Some days you just have to do what I'm doing and catch on one line, give it 2 or 3 fish, 15 minutes of fishing, move over to the next line. And I said at the start, like, it's the decisions that win you the matches. It's when to change, how long to give it. It's quite easy just to get stuck thinking, oh, I'm getting the odd bite every 10 minutes and going with it, but you could be improving that. Oh, it's definitely a lot of... It's classic though, feeding micros in slightly deeper water, you're getting those odd, weird bites, like a lot of liners, but there we go, there's a fish. I'm definitely glad that I left it before I went over there, just because I might be able to get a slightly longer run than if I went there earlier. Like, if you went over there straight away, you'd catch them, but if you just leave them there quiet, sometimes they last a little bit longer. Gary's catching them, look. You've worked out now, Gary, haven't you? You got to go on sometime, you're right. Yeah, he's catching them now, so yeah, we always knew that that was going to come good. But yeah, you go, there's another fish. That's 2 out of 2 over there, 2 and 2 puttings. What am I going to give myself there? £2 again. I might go on another net actually, not that I think I've got anywhere near it, but just because there's no point in putting more fish in one net when you've got all the others spare. Right, let's repeat it again. I'm going to go out once more. All my bait soaked. Didn't really prepare myself for a rainy day like that. Right, maggots, a few pellets, back out there again. So if this does fade, what I'll do is just a complete swim rotation. I'll try the short pellet lines again. If they don't work, or I catch 1 or 2, I'll then try the edges again, and then I'll go back out over here. So you can see what I mean by just giving everything its time to settle. And then the last thing I've got to try, I'm only going to try one more thing today. That is if it all really does go quiet, I'll pick the catapult up and I'll start spraying maggots over towards that far side. I think there's a chance that I could pick some carp up. I think there's a chance that you could catch some eyed and just catch everything at sort of like half depth. That's definitely like a real aggressive way of doing it. But I feel once I've committed to that, then you really have sort of set your stall out to how the fish are going to feed. They're going to feed at all sorts of depths. And then if you try and catch them on the bottom, it can be quite hard again. So I didn't want to commit to that too early. If it was warmer, I'd have been doing that ages ago. I'd probably started on it, if I'm honest. But we're ticking over. We're definitely ticking over. Right, we've got an hour to go, and the plan has pretty much stayed the same. It's been, look at that, it's a tiny one. I've got a stone in my land handle. It's been to keep rotating those tiny little carp, and I've just now gone back down the edge. We had a couple over the far side, that then went a little bit funny. Same as everything really, can't keep anything in one spot. But I have just had 2 or 3, I think that was 3rd fish now down this edge. So you know, it's when you'd expect fish to settle somewhere, and normally down the edge is where you can find them. Even when the weathers get colder, you can still catch fish down the edge. So I'm upping it a little bit. I'm upping the feed down there on my right, and this one on my left, like I said, has been like 3 or 4 fish. I think that was 3 in a row. So all I'm doing, I'm literally got half a cup of micros, turning it over quietly, and then we're laying in an expander over the top, trying to keep things really small quantities, because if there's not a lot of fish there, there sort of comes in ones or twos. I want to get a bite when the fish comes in. I don't really want to have a big pot there, so I've not put a big pot in or anything like that. I've just snuck in those micros, and that at the moment seems to be my best line. I can still see the odd reed knocking, so there's still a few fish in the reeds. It's always a good area to hold them. Like down this bank, everyone's sort of got a few bits of rushes on the near side, and it's always worth a few fish. But it's sort of the same's happening again. Now I've had those 3 bites, so now I'm slowly starting to feel it go quieter again, but I would expect them to settle down in the last hour. They definitely are under that staging on peg 21. They're sort of regularly catching now, and if they were going to settle anywhere, I would say it's going to be here, one of these 2 edges, or if I go back over long, I'll pick the catapult up now and I'll get really aggressive with it. In the last hour, you can sort of go for it because you've not got the worry of if you mess it up. You've got other swims that you can fish. There we go, there's another bite. And you can always find that, sort of like I said, that last hour, you can definitely give them more bait. If you muck a swim up, it doesn't matter so much. Keep fishing your other ones. You've got your pellet lines in front of you that you can always fall back on if you felt you fed a bit too much bait, either across in the shallow water or in the near side. But yeah, although that wasn't a really quick bite, it probably wasn't waiting that long. I think it feels longer when I'm sort of talking to you. I'm conscious that you're sitting there watching a float and you want to see a bite quite quickly. So actually, probably in a match situation, if I wasn't really too conscious of that, that's probably not that long to get a bite, if in all honesty. And we've got another little carp. I'm getting himself another £2 for that one in the net, filling up nicely. I don't really know what we've got. It's hard to, when you're just sort of plucking away the odd fish here and there. I'd say we've got about £40 probably, something like that, maybe a little less, but I haven't counted my eyes, so maybe a little bit more. You don't know with that one. And I'm going to literally half a pot again, a few pinch of maggots down there. Keep everything going, don't just up the feed on one line, keep the regularity of feed going in on all of them. And like I said, if I do end up going back over to 16 meters, I'll do the same again. So let's put that back in, empty those in, lower you expand over the top. I'd much rather catch them here because it's just quicker. You haven't got to ship out 60 meters. It's quicker to get back in with your rig. It's quicker to get the fish out once you've hooked them. Everything's just neater. So even if I had to wait an extra minute for a bite, I think that's worth it fishing closer. It's so much neater and better. And realistically, all we're mimicking over this side compared to that side is obviously there's a little bit more noise here. But there was the 2 fish I had over there. I had an eyed as well. They were definitely bigger over the far side, so I've not given up on that completely. But yeah, it's now time in any match to start thinking about, right, I've got to finish strong, I've got to feed 4 or 5 lines, commit to those positively, and then find out which one's going to be the best. I think this little one down here to our left could end up being our best line for the last little bit of the match, but it's definitely not going to allow me to completely fish it out. Like I said, the bites are slowly dragging out again, a little bit longer. It might just need, it can literally be 2 minutes just fishing a different line just to let them fish settle again when they're not really sort of competing. The last thing you want to do is catch every single fish that's there, because any fish that are drawing other fish in as well. And I think if you completely empty your peg by just flogging one line, then that can be complete. That can be it. That, you know, they won't come back there at all day. You better to leave a couple of fish there, move on to another one, and then come back to it. So it's very different to summer fishing, because what am I doing? I'm not watching. I'm throwing some maggots down the other side. Very different to summer fishing in the fact that, you know, I'd probably, this stage of a match in the summer, I'd only have one line that I'm still feeding. I'd be pretty confident. I'd be throwing loads of bait at it, and yeah, I'd be really confident with it. But at the minute we've got a terrible looking rain cloud coming in, and hopefully we can get to the end of the match without too much rain, keep you updated. But that was bad, wasn't it? Looking at the other swim, feeding the bait, look back and there's no float in sight. Not good angling that. But let's keep going. I'm gonna stick fishing here or to my right. Oh, liner straight away. Yeah. Oh, another bite. Now is all about time for getting a little bit more aggressive with your fishing. Well, we have about 4-5 minutes left. It's pretty much rained the whole of the last hour, and the fishing's been all right, to be fair. It's got a little bit more consistent. I've pretty much switched between this left edge and my right edge, and the bites have never absolutely lined up, but they've definitely got a little bit more consistent. As you quite often find in the last hour, they can sort of drop their guard a little bit, and it was just a case of I've just been really patient. It's been actually quite a real interesting match to fish, because I feel like you've had to work for every single bite, and that's where it feels good. It's been really enjoyable. It's better than just sort of putting one line in, catching a load of fish. I've caught on 7 different methods probably, and that definitely makes you think about your match much more. I think you learn more doing it like that than you do if you just go out and try and catch absolutely loads of them in one go. I'm going to set one more trap, so a few micros. This left edge has probably been a little bit better than the other one, but the other one I've thrown with maggots by hand. This one I've cupped pellets, so let's see if I can get one more bite. 2 minutes to go. Hopefully the camera survives. It's out there getting absolutely soaked. Come on, one bite to finish with. Definitely fish there, like there's indications now, which we weren't getting earlier. You know, it's always the way when you're fishing close in, down the edge. Last hour is so important, and like I said, I've upped the feed on both of them. I'm not going to feed the right end anymore just because I've only got 2 minutes left, but let's see if we can get one. To be fair, a few people started catching now as it got towards the end. I can see the rain on that lens. I hope you can still see me all right. No good? Amanda said rain stop play, so yeah, we'll cut it there, and hey, we'll cut it there and we'll meet at the end. There we go, packed away, and it has stopped raining. A bit of a weird ending there. We had to call it quits because the cameras are absolutely soaked in the last minute. But that last fish didn't actually matter. I did manage to land it, and we've managed to win the match. I've had 67 pounds and 10 ounces, even beating peg 21, which is very, very rare and extremely hard to do. So I am well chuffed with that, and I hope that it's given you an understanding of the thinking behind a match angler, because that's why these live matches are so popular. You can see why I'm changing, when I'm changing, and the thought process behind it. If you look back and break that down, I've caught odd fish on every line that I've done, and that's super, super important to make those decisions to keep fish coming all day. I never had an amazing run, I've just ticked over, but doing that has been enough to win. So it's all about making those decisions, reading the situation, and the match next door is also over as well. So that's us now. We're going to head off home. I do hope you have enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you very shortly for another Match Masterclass.